Hi there, welcome to the RevOps show. Is your company AI ready? What does that mean and where does AI fit into your strategy? Doug and Jess are here to break it down, from questions you should be asking to the steps that can guide you on this journey. AI is only getting bigger, and we need to be ready for it. So let's dive on in.
Jess, I think this is the first time we've talked, the first RevOps show since 50. I think the last RevOps show we talked about 50, but it's been 50.
It's been 50, not RevOps shows.
No,
50 RevOps shows was a while ago.
Yeah, we passed 100, didn't we?
No, I don't know that we have yet.
I think we have.
Have
I think
we?
by the time this airs,
Okay.
by the time our loyal audience as the number one RevOps show on Spotify.
Mm-hmm. Yep. But 50, and you're wearing your trucker hat.
I'm wearing my trucker hat, not to be confused with trucking, which is the Grateful Dead.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But yeah, and it was everything I hoped it would be, Jess.
Yeah. I would expect it would. You've seen him 50 times.
I got to tell you, he announced more shows next year in Europe, so I'm sure
Wild.
US shows are coming.
This is wild.
5 days after he did Baltimore, he did Asbury Park.
Mm-hmm.
I saw the set list yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, my jaw dropped. Bought it. I'm halfway through it. By the way, if you were to have just played me, so I'm listening to his Asbury Park show,
mm-hmm.
and if you had just played, you just played it, and you didn't tell me when it was, I wouldn't be able to tell it apart from the shows he was doing in the 90s and aughts. I don't know. Give me some of that living.
I've said it before. Healthy living, man. Healthy living.
I'm just stuck to inboxing. Do you think I can get him to sponsor the RevOps show? That's my goal for 2025. I want us to get a sponsor.
You want us to get a sponsor?
I want us to get a sponsor.
So we can record ads.
I want I want value creative ads. I want ads that are entertaining. Hi, I'm a shitty RevOps. Hi, I'm not a shitty RevOps. I'm a Mac. I'm a PC.
No, I got it.
I guess I got it backwards. Jess, what do you got going on? What's going on in your world?
You're abandoning me. I mean, so you didn't even bring that up.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Are you excited about tomorrow?
No, I got a couple things tomorrow, and the travel's going to be a pain.
Are you excited about Saturday?
I am very excited about Saturday. There is a deck chair and a lot of nothing with my name on.
I hope I don't talk to you for 9 days, and I mean that in the best way possible.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that has me nervous right now is I'm not nervous about, I don't feel like there's 4 or 5
Light a candle, go get some salt.
There's this weird thing that's been going on the last 30, 45 days is I've been the optimistic one on things and it's working. What's up with that?
I don't know what's happening.
Yep. 8 days. It's really kind of, so if I leave on Saturday, so it departs Saturday, 4 p.m.,
mm-hmm.
comes back the following Sunday it'll be docked by 5 a.m. So I guess that's 8 days. That's 8 days and 9 nights. 8 days. Or is that 8 days, 8 nights?
7 nights.
No, it's more than 7 nights. I guess it's 8 days, 8 nights.
Mm-hmm.
And the 9th day, I'm not on the cruise. I travel back. Yeah, so 2 days at sea. So Saturday, then Sunday, Monday at sea.
Mm-hmm.
Tuesday in Aruba.
Mm-hmm.
Wednesday in Curacao. Thursday in Bonaire. Friday, Saturday at sea. Sunday back to Fort Lauderdale.
Yep.
And fly home.
Must be nice. I'm excited for you.
I'm very, very, very much looking forward to it. But don't worry, Jess. I will send you pictures. I will send you pictures. Sure. I will
and dad jokes.
Dad jokes.
Yeah.
And I will send you stats from Major League Baseball playoffs.
This is what Doug does on his vacation, guys. I still get dad jokes.
Yeah, I mean, you know why? Because I'm selfless. Because I know that just because I'm on vacation doesn't mean my team doesn't still need dad jokes.
Exactly.
Yep, I'm willing to make that sacrifice. So, Jess, are you excited about what we're talking about today?
I am excited about what we're talking about today.
We're talking about practice, man. We're talking about practice. We ain't talking about the game. We're talking about practice, man.
Right? We're talking about AI.
We are.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you like what I did there?
I did.
AI,
I
right there.
did.
So are we talking about crossover dribbles? Are we talking about
Talking about
artificial intelligence? So I was thinking about artificial intelligence, Jess,
yeah.
and it feels like it lacks genuineness. It's artificial. No, I thought about it, and I'm like, what? Am I an AI skeptic?
I don't know. I mean, yeah, yes, and no.
Yeah, I don't think I am. I think it's unfair to say that I'm an AI skeptic because I'm very excited about AI and I willingly use it. I think I'm an AI realist.
I was actually gonna say you took the words out of my mouth. I was gonna say I think you're an AI real.
Right? And I'm a realist about what to expect from AI. And I'm a realist about what I can get from AI. And some of that is like the juice for the squeeze with AI. Some of that is about where is it really? And some of it is about it has the capability, but just because it can do it doesn't mean I can do it with it.
Right.
So I was thinking about what's the best way to describe the mistake that I see so many companies and people in terms of how they're approaching and thinking about AI. And I have something. Are you ready? This is how people are approaching AI. Do you get what
do
I'm
you mean
saying
by
there?
that? They
It's
just
like
take it. They want
it's
it
like
all, and they want it all now.
AI. Like it's like so I stole this, modified it from a book written by the guy that led Procter and Gamble's digital transformation, the Next Generation Services Group, which kind of transformed their global services group, which is a shared services
Mm-hmm.
org, IT org, and it's the 5 levels of maturity, 5 levels of AI maturity. I stole it from his 5 levels of digital. So level 1 is experimentation, right? Level 1 is all about test. Level 2 is isolated usage and siloed usage. Level 3 is partially synchronized. And that means part of the organization, not part of the use.
Mm-hmm.
Level 4 is fully synchronized. So it's connected across the organization. And then level 5 is, it's you. It becomes part of you. It's intertwined. It's a core. It's a part of your operating system, right? And I feel like people are trying to get from 0
Mm-hmm.
to 5. Right? And it's funny because I facilitated a debate at Inbound about AI, and I asked George, what do chocolate chip cookies have to do with AI? And lo and behold, I actually had an answer. Like we're approaching it like I remember when I was a kid and my mom would make chocolate chip cookies. Give me them all.
Right.
Right. And so I see that creating a lot of stress. I see that creating a lot of fear. I see that creating a lot of confusion. And we were at Inbound and there was a strike. There was a strike at Inbound.
There was.
The things we talk about on the RevOps show. Yeah, there was a strike at Inbound. So the bar at the Westin was closed.
Yep. Because it was a hotel employee strike. So bare bones.
That's good context. And that didn't stop us.
No, it didn't.
We brought our own. And then Nick Holland, the GM over at HubSpot, joined us later in the evening, and we got into a conversation. Nick's actually going to be leading the AI stuff, I believe, at Inbound, if he's not already. Certainly has been a heavy influence. We got into one of our Doug Nick debates.
Mm-hmm.
Dan Nesbitt joined the debate. Brian Halligan commented, not related to the debate, but commented on some things on LinkedIn. And the point that I made to Nick that I think we want to talk about today is I said, like, the question that I have is wherever AI may or may not be, what I feel like no one is talking about is how ready are you? How ready is your organization for AI? Because I think that there is this fear. There's this FOMO that's driving a lot of action that, oh no, I need to move now or I'm going to miss out. I need to move now or I'm going to be destroyed because everyone's going to run away. And that's not where AI is right now.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yep.
At least not for people who are listening to this show. Actually, that's not where will it be there over the next 3 to 5 years? In places it will. In places it will. And 3 to 5 years isn't that long a period of time. So it's like the question is, what are you doing today so that you can be ready? Not so that you can be ready, so that you are ready for what will be in some way, shape, or form. By the way, the biggest danger about all this, I saw somebody that talked about they use cloud computing as the example for the transformative effect. And they talked about how, at this stage in the world of cloud computing was looked at as this small, silly little thing that some people were doing. The problem is that AI is not being looked like that.
Right.
AI is like everyone. The biggest concern I have about the accuracy of will AI be transformative is if you ask anybody, will AI be transformative? You're going to get a yes.
Right. Yep.
And the thing is, when everybody agrees on something, that's one of the clearest signs that something's not going to happen or it's not going to be transformative. So one of the questions you got to ask yourself, and actually there's a book that I'm going to listen to. I heard him on the Pivot podcast, that the key to a startup is not that they're disruptive. It's that they're counterintuitively disruptive.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah.
It's that they see something. I mean, we talk about changing the game.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't change, like when we change the game, it's not everyone going, oh yeah, we're changing the game. 95% of the people are for it to pay off, at least 95% of the people in the world have to believe it's ridiculous. Because otherwise, if AI plays out in the transformational way that this consensus has emerged, then what it means is the big will get bigger and the strong will get stronger and the weak will get weaker, because it won't transform the world if it just reinforces the game. If it's just about efficiency, if it's just about velocity, that plays to the incumbents. It doesn't play to the challengers. So I want to talk about AI readiness today.
Where do you want to start?
I want to talk about the dangers first.
Okay.
Jess, do you like magic shows? Do you like David Copperfield? And
I do.
that stuff? People love magic.
They do.
And I think that's one of the things that, do you remember when we started seeing automation? And by the way, let's be clear. One danger about AI is we talk about AI, but AI doesn't actually mean anything.
Right.
Because by the way, everybody today, anybody listening to this episode uses AI. If for no other reason than this episode uses AI, right? Natural language processing is AI. Transcription is AI. All those things are. One of the first levels of AI is just smart automation. Remember people used to call it, they didn't call it automation, they called it automagic.
Yep.
Right.
I do.
And AI has that alert to it. Like my biggest fear about AI is, what is it? Skylab? Is that it? Is that what took over the world? Is that what led to Terminator?
Yeah, I believe so.
Skynet.
Skynet. Yeah. Skynet.
No, that's not actually my biggest fear is, it's my biggest fear with all of data is that we use it to replace our thinking, not to stimulate our thinking. And it's so easy to use AI. It's such a good thought partner, generational AI today. By the way, I'm going to give a shout out to Claude. I've been testing out the free version of Claude, and I have the paid version of ChatGPT. And right now I got to tell you, Claude is just kicking ChatGPT's ass.
Really? Oh, okay.
In quality and usefulness.
Interesting.
I use ChatGPT and Claude to prepare for this episode, and I would say 20% of what I'm using in prep that came from one of the two came from ChatGPT, 80% from Claude. But anyway, there's this ability that AI does to make it look so easy, like things have changed without us having to change.
Yeah.
Right. So we treat it like the easy button. We become a passive participant in what's happening rather than an active participant. And it's understand that, especially if AI is going to be transformational, it is going to be discontinuous. And that means to actually benefit from it, you have to change how you do and what you do. And that's far more the game. Like the technology is going to take care of itself. How you do what you do, that's the game. And that's why this is such an important RevOps function. And that's why RevOps needs to be readying their organization for AI to be able to have a positive.
Yep. Yeah, the magic thing was interesting to me, and it reminded me of a quote. You've heard it before because I used it at our team meeting presentation, but it's a Walt Disney quote, which is there is no magic in magic. It's all in the details. Right. And that for me is connected to kind of what you and what George brought up in the session that you moderated at Inbound around, like, AI only gives you as good as you put into it. You've got to treat it almost like an intern. Like, this was the best descriptor for how to use it effectively and avoid the dangers of what you're talking about of using it as an easy button. Like, you've got to give it good information to get good information back. And I think that's the part that we miss, is we think, okay, we're just going to give it very surface level and it's going to come back and give us, this amazing detail. And
so when you use it for that, I think you need to be able to argue with it. And if you can't argue with it, then right. Cause there's this element of, I see people, George had great points. And by the way, George stimulated my thinking. It led me to, matter of fact, I was at the airport later that day, and that's when I signed up for Claude. But George said something that was interesting. He said, because he's trained it, et cetera, I asked it this, and it even wrote this statement: these are not the papers you're looking for. And his point was saying, see, it picked up my personality. I'm like, okay, I get that. Like, when you use it as output, the problem is it's anodyne. What did Eleanor say on Good Place? You're basic.
You're basic, yeah.
You're basic, right? and the problem is, like, we have such of a confirmation bias. It's why personality profiles are so popular. It's why horoscopes are so popular. Is it picks up these patterns. Remember, when you ask AI a question, by the way, whether we're talking about generational AI, Gen AI, whether we're talking about data analysis AI, whether, if we ask it a question, it will give us an answer.
Yep. Yeah.
Right. So if you don't really understand the question that you're asking, and by the way, that sounds easy. That's the hard part. Understanding the question that you're asking. What's the real question that you're asking? If you don't understand that and you take the output from that, it's going to take you further and further off, because we respond to what AI gives us so much, like horoscopes and personality profiles. It's the basis of the long con. It's the basis of the short con. Say something in such a way that sounds so interesting that someone goes, oh my gosh, how could you have possibly known? You must know, right? And that's where we get ourselves into trouble. And that's where I think companies aren't ready for AI. And I think that we might be ready to take some of its output, but we're not ready to process the output. And we're not ready on the input so that the output becomes beneficial. And then I think what ends up happening is we start losing the plot of our business, because, and that's, by the way, in so many ways, that's the story of Skynet. I mean, It is, right?
Yeah.
It's that we let it, it's the story of iRobot. It's the story of every dystopian technology. The technology became so capable. It became such a great thought partner. It seemed to replicate our thinking so closely. And Jess, people hate to think more than anything. They hate to think. Thinking is hard. And so here's this thing that looks to replicate and looks to maybe even be smarter than us. And it can handle terabytes of data, and it can pick up all these things. And it's so easy to let go. But when we let go, we become passive. And when we become passive, that's when it becomes dangerous. So I think the question that we should all be asking is, how do you leverage this incredibly early, incredibly powerful tool in a way that continues to support, that in a way that supports and enables us and doesn't replace us? And I don't mean that AI is going to replace you. Someone who uses AI is going to replace you. I mean that we're still the ones driving the AI rather than the AI driving driving you. It's the prime directive. As I was putting this together, I think at one point I had the prime directive in every section, and I realized, okay, maybe that defeats the purpose. But you need to be driving the AI. The AI should never drive you. Strategy needs to drive the AI. The AI should never drive strategy. Business process needs to drive the AI. AI should never drive the business process. It is very, very much the prime directive. And it's so easy to want to and try to and feel like you can skip steps.
So what do you do? What do you do to make sure that your business is ready?
Hope. I find hope is an
excellent strategy.
It's a strategy. It's not an excellent strategy. I mean, I know people who say hope's not a strategy. You know that. I disagree with them. Hope is a strategy. So I think that there are, and by the way, if you're interested in this, we are going to be, we're actually rolling out an AI readiness audit on this. And these are the 6 areas, at least as we sit here today. These are the 6 areas that we focus on the initial audit. The first one is strategy. Mm-hmm. Question 1, where are you on the maturity curve? Right. I'm going to tell you the vast majority, 99% of companies are at stage 1.
Yeah. And experimentation.
Yep. Right. And so here's something I'm going to say. If you're at the experimentation stage, experiment and understand you can't go from stage 1 to stage 3 in one step.
Yeah. Yep.
I don't even think you can go from stage 1 to stage 3 in 2 steps. And you certainly can't go from stage 1 to stage 5 in one step. I mean, you can if you want to kill your company, if you want to kill your organization. Right. Because the danger with an early adoption tool like AI, I mean, is that first off, it's so powerfully right in circumstances that any AI proponent can point to plenty of anecdotes of how AI has done amazing things. And our AI chatbot solves 60% of questions. I mean, that AI chatbot is really, that's 90% smart automation. That's more about the data getting into a place that can be curated, right? And AI definitely helps with that. So again, it's powerful enough that anyone can point to, look, here's the life-changing benefits of it. It's wrong enough that any cynic can say, here's why it's a fool's errand. By definition, to lead that effort, you're a change-oriented person. And so you're comfortable with that. And by the way, we can sit here and say AI won't replace you, except it's already replacing.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, what is AI? AI is thought automation. There's a strike that started 2 days ago. The dock workers are on strike. What's the main thing? It's not the pay raise. The pay raise is an important thing. Mm-hmm. It's the level of automation. It's the level of automated trucks and cranes, et cetera. And by the way, no one can tell me that automation, that our automated factories haven't reduced jobs, because I don't want to be like, I'm not against automation. I'm not against technology. I'm not against AI. Mm-hmm. But you know what another word for increased productivity is? The need for fewer people. Right. And so, U.S. productivity. Now, by the way, you know what the U.S. hasn't, where the U.S. manufacturing base has actually increased over the last 40 years. Mm-hmm. Right. Because of chips, because of all this advanced manufacturing, and the automation that we bring to it. Jobs, the number of manufacturing jobs has overall decreased. You know what we haven't automated? We haven't automated to the same level clothing, although we're getting there, right? Because that's small, old, and that's why those things have been offshored, because they take more man hours, because you don't have the same, big tranche. And what AI does is it begins to automate thinking, which can be really powerful. And your organization might be preparing for that. But what are you doing to make sure that the people in your company are adjusting so that they can prepare for it? Mm-hmm. We're not doing much. Mm-hmm. I've seen it. We don't. Well, subscribe to ChatGPT and play with it. Okay, well, I don't know how to play with it, right? And play with it blindly. Like, what are we doing on that? So where are you on the maturity curve? You got to put one foot in front of the other. So you start off there. The second thing about the prime directive, we talked about the prime directive. What is the strategy? AI does not replace strategy. It lets you take action. It speeds you up. It's like when my back really hurt and I took Advil. Turned out a few years later, I learned that I had a badly herniated disc.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you what, until I needed emergency surgery, it was a hell of a lot easier just to take some Advil. AI is really good Advil, but Advil doesn't make the organization stronger. Advil doesn't make the muscle stronger. It just masks the pain. The place where AI, I think, is most dangerous at this stage,
Mm-hmm.
and why I think being in the experimentation phase is such a fun, powerful place to be. Experiment. Don't be a fanboy. Experiment. Have fun. Brag.
Mm-hmm.
But be a skeptic. Don't be a cynic. And the reason is AI is probably the most powerful solution looking for a problem in my lifetime. It is a powerful solution and everybody is talking about it. I was talking with Drew as we were in line and I was telling him about my first response from Claude in line on the plane back from inbound. And this woman who had to be mid 50s, early 60s started jumped right in our conversation telling us how she loves Claude.
Really?
I was
Okay.
like, wait, huh? I mean, everyone's talking about it.
Yeah.
Right. So again, there's all this, okay, if I don't use it, I must be doing something wrong. The question isn't, never measure yourself by what you're doing wrong, measure yourself by what you're doing right. And that's why strategy is so important. What is the strategy? And then where does AI is not strategy, but
Mm-hmm.
where does AI fit into that strategy? Where does AI fit into to your guiding policy, into the diagnosis of the problem? So I think you tell me how strong the strategy is, not the plan, the strategy. You tell me how strong the strategy is, I'll tell you how well a company is ready to adapt to the effective use of AI.
All right. So that makes sense. Obviously, you need to develop a strategy, but how do you tie it to your business process, and what do you do to tie it back to the business? Like, you're talking about experimentation, you're talking about kind of building that strategy. How do you use it day to day? Like,
Where are you on the maturity curve of your business processes? Not the digital transformation or the AI maturity curve, but how mature are your business processes? Right? If you have ill-defined structures, systems, playbooks, methodologies, then you need to be doing, I mean, you're not ready for heavy AI. You need to be very, use it as a early contributor, use it for some of its core uses. Focus on getting your data. We're going to talk about data, but focus on getting your data structured correctly. Use it to save time, like where you're going to use AI on, if you're towards the lower ends of, actually until you get to the upper ends of business process maturity, you're going to be using it to automate or eliminate high effort, low value activities.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the first place. Then the next place is, where are your gaps? Where are the gaps in the business process? Hey, it would be really great if I had something that could do X, Y, or Z. Alrighty. I agree, that would be great. What are you unable to do right now because you don't have that? And if you don't have a really good answer on that, that's the juice, by the way. That's going to define the juice. It would be great. Again, my fear is, and I see this happening with a lot of people, AI is more a distraction than it is anything else.
So this is interesting, and the concept of AI around automation. And I agree with it. I don't know that I had thought about it until we were talking about this today, but when we talk about automation, and this ties to what you were talking about around business process, we'll frequently say you can't automate it until you've done it manually. I actually have a client that I'm wrestling with on this, and I think they're tired of hearing me say it, candidly. But if you haven't worked through the process manually, if you haven't wrestled with it, you can't automate it. And I think that ties to AI, where this goes back to what you talked about, trying to use it as an easy button. We're trying to skip steps. We're trying to have it automate for us and give us, without us actually having done the work ourselves.
Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you, AI will, when we had basic automation, you couldn't just have basic automation do something.
Correct.
The thing that scares me the most is this AI that says it will build the report for you.
Yeah.
Right? We get requests every day, and we're pretty smart. Candidly, we're smarter than the AIs are on understanding what the request is.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
the number of times we get a request that's actually asking for what they want, and the time it takes us to help them understand, well, that's not really what you're looking for.
Right.
AI won't do that, at least not
Yeah.
today. AI will go, oh, here it is. And then you think you're looking at one thing and you're really actually looking at another thing. So,
Yeah.
so I'll tell you, one of the best places to start with, we use Fathom, right? Avoma, Gong, all those very,
Yep.
very powerful AI. It saves
Mhm.
me a whole lot of time.
Yep.
I would say it's more Navigator than Copilot.
Yep.
Right? It's more like, because it's, if I were to take it as Copilot and just send it without, like, it would end up getting me into a lot of trouble. I say something jokingly, oh yeah, we'll build that out in a day, and it says this will be done tomorrow, and I'm like, okay, wait, hold on a second, hold on, Bender.
Yep.
Don't get too far ahead of yourself. The other thing too is, as you're, I'm sorry, what I was going to say is, so using it for smart automation,
Mhm.
that's a very powerful place. I think that's where if you're not using it for that, that's a great place to get started. That's a great place to get your people started, so they begin to build confidence in AI and can see it as an enabler. And it comes back down to getting very clear. AI is the solution. It's not the job. I'm sorry. AI is the method. AI is an execution element. It's not the job. What's the job that you're really doing here?
Yep.
Make sure you're focused on that job.
Yep.
And none of this works without that.
Yeah, so I'm excited to talk about the data aspect of this, because this is the place where the conversations that we're having, particularly at Inbound around this, like this is all great, but if the data is not there, it's not gonna do anything for you.
Let's be honest. If you're not Amazon, Google, Microsoft, Netflix, the data's not there. So here's my first question. Where's your hierarchical ERD? Anybody that doesn't know what I'm talking about, that's okay, right? I'm not saying this to insult you. Your data is not ready because we used to need an ERD, right? You and I have talked about this. Remember when we laughed about the ERD?
Yeah.
No, we don't need to do that. But I mean, you look at most ERDs and they look like a lucid chart on acid.
It's so true though.
Right?
Yeah.
But, okay. Now all of a sudden, what is the role and the lane? It's not enough to have the data. It's not enough for the data to be good. It's not enough for it to be validated. You have to know what layer, what role, what lane, where does it fit? Because again, whatever it is you feed the AI, it's just going to take it.
Yep.
Right. This is why this is a place, by the way, and I'd love to hear someone take an alternative opinion, but associating peer records,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to build circular logic into the peer record, because it's going to say these records are together. It's going to say A is related to B, is related to A, is related to B, is related to A, is related to B, is related to A, is related to B, because there's no hierarchy. And so, like, those things all come together. How big and broad is your data? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the reason everyone needs to use these public LLMs is because no one has a data set. Not no one, but very few people have data sets that are big enough, and they haven't prepared their data.
Yep.
So, the size of data, the breadth of your data, are you getting the information? But here's the toughest thing to log.
Mm-hmm.
And I think all the AI enthusiasts forget this. More than half of the things that matter occur offline. There is no recording.
Yeah.
There is no transcript, right? But by the way, was it logged? When was it logged?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So all of these elements about utilization and adoption of systems, and how is your CRM, not is your CRM being used, but how is your CRM being used? That gets to the breadth and depth of data. I've seen people with large data sets.
Mm-hmm.
They're a mile wide, they're an inch deep. You're not going to get good insights from that.
Yeah.
Right. And then especially when you start talking about using it to, like, give you the answer, it tells you this, it's going to lead you in the wrong direction. So really understanding, like, your number one transformational project, if you think AI is going to be a high impact play. And by the way, if you think it's not, it would be foolish. I'm going to say this. I'm going to go on record saying this. And this will hopefully take away anybody who says I'm an AI skeptic. It would be foolish for anyone to think that AI is not going to be a high impact play, even to say that AI is not going to be a game changer. And you know that I hate the word game changer.
Yeah. Yeah.
The reason it would be foolish to think that is because, A, It probably is. B, if you're wrong, you don't lose anything by making your data better. You don't lose anything by getting your data closer to being ready for what's needed for it to be a game changer. And by the way, if you're wrong, all the leaders in your industry are wrong. So you didn't zig when everyone else zagged. And there's nothing that you pick up by not zigging when they did and so forth. So your number one transformational project, so over the next 18 to 36 months, is having a data architecture and structure and a data set that you can be proud of.
All right, so let's
What
talk
would you
about
add to data?
what would I add to data. I mean, you covered most of my thoughts on this. Like, data structure, the size of your database, and your data quality is the name of the game in my mind. Like, and so to your point, we deal with this with large organizations. I think your comment on a mile wide and an inch deep is totally accurate. I think a lot of folks either get telescoped into size or telescoped into quality. And the reality is it's holistic. And so yeah, I think, and I don't think people are thinking about data structure nearly enough in relation to this.
I'll tell you where AI is having some really interesting impact. It's having impact on baseball scouting.
Okay.
And how you're looking at it and thinking about things. And the thing about baseball is baseball has a wide, deep level of quantitative metrics and qualitative metrics. So scouts use a fairly common approach to how they judge and assess a player. And they're scored qualitatively, for some reason, on a scale of 20 to 80. I don't know who came up with that scale, but you're scored 20 to 80. And what are the observations that the scout is making? So when a scout goes to see a player, they write up a whole report. Those reports are getting put in, mixed with the reports of other people. And then what the AI is doing is it's picking up and then looking at how does the player play beyond that? Do they make, and so one of the things I'm seeing happening is like we're getting obsessed about the size of our data. So we're throwing in quantitative data. Well, realize if you throw in data that doesn't matter, AI is going to figure out a way that it matters.
Yeah.
AI is going to correlate. And if you're not putting in that qualitative data, what did I see? And that's what I mean by the depth and breadth is also what's all this stuff that doesn't just fit into this simple idea of
and where this really gets interesting is where you talk about, so you talked earlier about frequently we'll dig into what the request is or what the problem is, and it's not truly what you think. So, or what's initially communicated. So when we start talking about automation and data with our clients, it's, we ask two clarifying questions like, okay, well, that's actually, it's that, except for when it's this. You can't, AI is not going to intuit that. Like, that's
right. But one of the things that's interesting is AI does have the ability to say it's this, except when it's that, if you're giving it.
But we have to have a conversation to get there. And that's the danger of this.
But, by the way, one of the problems that we talk about regularly is probably 80% of actions, 80% of records in a CRM get inputted into the CRM too late. That missing data completely changes what the predictive is. So that's another element of when are you capturing it? Where does it fit? What's your data degradation? Like all those things. I mean, this thing becomes a crazy reinforcing loop. Now, the thing that's interesting, data is the game. Data is the game in the sense that if you don't have it, you fail. Data, like what we're talking about data increasingly is just the ticket to the ball game. If you want to play in the AI world, then data.
Right.
Until bots start buying from bots and the bots running the organization, right? Until, we're Star Trek Next Generation and we sit on the side while the computers run the world.
Yeah.
Your people, that's where you're going to win, right? Why do AI? So like I was telling somebody the other day, the only reason to do CRM is to increase sale and lower the costs. If you can't connect increased sales or and lower cost sales to CRM, then it was a failed effort. The only reason to do AI right now is to make your people better.
Yeah.
Right. So the questions you got to ask on people: who's going to lead or manage the effort? Are you going to take a horizontal approach? Are you going to take a horizontal approach to how you build AI, or how you begin to utilize AI? Are you going to take a vertical approach, or is it going to be combined? Ultimately, it's always going to, ultimately to get to a level 5, it's going to have to be combined.
Yeah.
That's matrix. Are you ready to deal with that complexity? What I see people missing this all the time. If we're going to be in a new world and it's a game changer, then the same system, skills, and disciplines that determined the winners yesterday, they're not going to be the system, skills, and disciplines. Where are your gaps in your systems, your skills, and your disciplines? Skills equals people. What are the skills that you need to take advantage of and exploit the investments that you make in AI? What are you doing on the learning and development? Are you making your people AI ready? Someone said it's not unusual that companies are not really data driven. And I wanted to say to them, no, it's unusual that they're really data driven, right? Well, if you don't have a data-driven culture, then you're not. I mean, the whole basis of AI. Maybe you'll get into a level 1. You won't get to a level 2, 3. You won't get to a level 2, 3, 4, or 5.
Well, like you said, it's the ticket to the game.
You won't get to a level 3, 4, or 5. You might get to a level 2.
Yeah, like you said, it's the ticket to the game.
And then the other thing, and this is where I see organizations failing, because even those that do it, like if you listen to the debate. They were trying to bring confidence. By the way, I'm the first moderator in the history of debates to have won the debate. I'm just kidding.
Jesus.
It was still why this is good for you, why you need to love it. We need to build the greater context, right? Which means there needs to be empathy. Yeah, you should be scared.
Yeah.
I'm scared.
Yeah.
Right. This is going to change the game. The game hasn't been changed yet. I don't know what the other side is.
Right.
My favorite article that I saw was AI is going to be the biggest game changer in the history of the business. These are the 5 things you need to do to be successful. And I'm like,
we don't know yet.
How do you know that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you come back from the future? Do you have a flux capacitor? Right. We need to create clarity in a high change environment. Now, here's the thing: with or without AI, we're in a high change environment.
Right.
We need to create clarity. One of the things that makes me feel better, this whole idea of AI readiness, is all the things you need to do to get ready for AI, to be truly an AI ready organization, are the things that you need to do to be a strong growth organization.
Right. Yeah. Yep.
That leads to execution. Like, one of the big questions to ask, I saw something that says, you need to teach your people Python. They need to be engineered. Question to ask is, are you going to be a creator of AI, or are you going to be a consumer or user of it? Are you going to be both? Most organizations, to fully take advantage of it, they are going to need to be both. But where are you right now? Right? Be where you are. Are you a creator or a user of it? You also really need to take a look at your tech stack. This does not work if you do not have the ability for a fully connected tech stack. And then the last thing, because I know we're getting short on time and we're not going to cover it today, but you do the aspects around data security, having an AI policy, some of the ethics, et cetera. They are things that you need to deal with, and you need to deal with them in advance, because you can't, if you're dealing with them in the middle of the issue, it is going to wreak just absolute havoc.
So, and we're not going to dig into this, and maybe this is something for a future episode. I've gotten more questions since HubSpot launched the AI tools on security and ethics from our clients than I think I've gotten on a single. And I've had some folks who are like, look, we got to review this internally. I need you to turn it off, which is fair. That's
a really fair point. You know, I hadn't even really thought about it from the angle of, a question that I think needs to be part of the due diligence when you're looking at buying applications is, what is their AI readiness? And the difficulty is, a company that is selling product infused with AI is incentivized to push rather than to enable you to pull. And you know what you call somebody who pushes rather than enabling you to pull?
What?
You call them a pusher.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And suddenly, so that data, and by the way, let's not forget that one of the key elements around data and AI and utilization is training. You have to train the data. And what, like, there are vendors that we're using that I think honestly we're paying them, but they should be paying us because I'm training their data.
Yeah.
And if I was training their dog, they would be paying me. So yeah, that's a really, I think that you're going to start seeing some really interesting negotiations on there around data security, around controls, right? Because by the way, just because you can doesn't mean you should. And just because you have some clients, this is another reason why decloudification is, I think, going to be a legitimate chant. Just because some people should be using it doesn't mean I want my team using it. And those controls are going to become increasingly important, especially once you start looking at AI being, moving more and more to usage-based pricing.
Yep. All right, I got a couple of takeaways. So AI is a solution looking for a problem, which is just, to me, enabling folks to be able to really easily fall into that all I need is trap, is what I'm going to call it. Right? It's going to just give you an answer no matter what. It's only as good as the data. You really need to be thinking about the people who are going to lead the effort and then take that combined horizontal and vertical approach. It reminds me of our approach to implementations, like having folks from different knowledge base and areas of expertise leading that effort. Remember the prime directive. You need to be driving AI. Don't let it drive you. And then finally, just don't try to use it as an easy button. It's not.
Using AI is close to an easy button. Getting ready to use AI is where is where the win comes. And I'll tell you, if you pause, if you step back and you pay attention to AI readiness, you'll be saying no to shitty RevOps.
Till next time.
And that's a wrap on this episode of the RevOps Show. AI isn't a magic button. It's a powerful tool that requires intentional planning and usage. Thank you again for listening. If you haven't already, follow Doug, Jess, and Lyft on LinkedIn, and make sure you're subscribed to the podcast on your favorite listening platform. Subscribe to our new YouTube channel for the video version of the podcast at the RevOps Show, and if you have any inquiries about the show or any questions you would like Doug and Jess to answer, email me at hannah@lyftenablement.com. And until next time, just say no to shitty RevOps.